We begin in Myanmar, where the military crackdown on anti-coup protesters has intensified. Security forces have shot and killed a 7-year-old girl. Anger is rising over her death and other children killed in the violence. Silent protests took place across the country on Wednesday against February's coup. In the largest city of Yangon, shops and businesses were closed as people went on strike. The 7-year-old girl died Tuesday in Mandalay. Local media reported she was shot at her home, sitting in her father's lap.
Security personnel asked, "Who else is in the house?" When no one opened the door and my dad replied, "No one else is here," they said, "Don't lie," and opened fire.
A local human rights group says 2 boys aged 15 and 16 were also killed by security forces in Mandalay this week. The Assistance Association for Political Prisoners says 23 children have been killed during the crackdown. UNICEF's regional office in Bangkok told NHK children in Myanmar are in danger.
And it seems that there is no safe place for children anymore. Deep emotional and psychological trauma, those that are directly affected, but also, broader environments that are people and children are being witnessing the current violence.
The military has not commented on the incident. It's blamed protesters for the violence. The human rights group says at least 275 people have been killed by security forces since the coup. Vote counting is underway in Israel's parliamentary election. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's ruling party is likely to win most of the votes, but may fail to secure a majority. Tuesday's national election was the 4th in 2 years. The 3 previous elections failed to give a majority to any party. In the initial turnout, Netanyahu's right-wing Likud party led with about 24% of the vote. Opposition centrist Yesh Atid trailed with 14%. Netanyahu will likely have to negotiate a governing coalition with other parties, but it's still unclear if he can gain enough support to form a stable government.
A stable government for Israel, that is what the time requires. That is what the challenges we are facing require. And we must not drag the state of Israel to a new election, to a 5th election.
During the campaign, Netanyahu emphasized his achievements such as the nation's successful response to the coronavirus and better relations with Arab countries. The peace process with Palestine was not a focus of the campaign. Residents of Jerusalem expressed mixed feelings.
I think it's gonna be the same. I don't see any different than gonna change now.
I hope that it will be a democratic government that respects the law, that respects the courts.
Final results are not expected until later in the week. Senior White House officials say national security advisors from Japan and South Korea will visit Washington next week. It comes as the administration of President Joe Biden says it's nearing the final stage of its policy review on North Korea. The 2 envoys are expected to hold talks on the issue with their U.S. counterpart, Jake Sullivan. Senior administration officials have signaled they intend to work closely with Japan and South Korea to deal with the North. South Korea's military says Pyongyang launched 2 cruise missiles off its west coast over the weekend. North Korea has not commented on the matter, and the U.S. president is playing it down.
According to the Defense Department, it's business as usual. There's no new wrinkle in what they did.
Senior U.S. officials suggested in a briefing call on Tuesday the launches would not stop U.S. outreach efforts to the north. The Tokyo metropolitan government has reported the highest number of new coronavirus cases in a month, just 3 days after a state of emergency was lifted. Tokyo officials confirmed 420 new infections on Wednesday. It's the second tally this month to breach 400, and it's further stoking fears a new wave could be on the way. Officials farther north share that anxiety.
We're experiencing an unprecedented upsurge. It's very critical.
Miyagi's capital is home to 1 million people. It declared its own state of emergency last week, but cases continue to rise, now hitting a daily record of 131. The mayor is calling for more testing and for bars and restaurants to shorten their business hours starting Thursday. In Osaka, people have similar fears going out to eat is causing the virus to spread. The Western Prefecture reported over 260 cases on Wednesday, the highest daily figure since an emergency declaration was lifted last month.
The state of emergency was lifted earlier in Osaka than Tokyo. More people went drinking or out for food, and the cases increased.
The daily cases are just going to go up unless we do something to make sure fewer people dine out.
Another concern is the spread of more contagious strains. The latest weekly statistics show a nearly 20% increase in cases linked to variants first found in the UK, South Africa, and Brazil. Japan's Doctors Association is worried about how rural areas will deal with spiking cases.
I think variants are one of the factors behind the spread of infections. I feel it's critical that we take various preventative measures as soon as possible.
The national tally for Wednesday sits at over 1,900 new cases, taking the cumulative number of infections above 460,000. Nearly 9,000 people have died. And with Japan's vaccine rollout still in its early stages, many are keeping a close watch on inoculation efforts abroad. That includes pregnant women, a group at higher risk of developing severe COVID-19 symptoms. NHK World's Sakamoto Mari reports on one mom's vaccine experience.
Hi. Uchida Mai is a psychiatrist in the United States, where she worked at a hospital at the height of the outbreak. It was a stressful time for everyone, especially a mom with a third baby on the way.
I had a lot of concerns, including about what it would be like to get infected as a pregnant woman. I worried about what that would mean for my family.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says research shows pregnant people with COVID-19 are more likely to become seriously ill or die. When it comes to the vaccine, there's less data to work with. But experts say the vaccine is unlikely to pose a serious risk. So expectant mothers across the U.S. have started getting the jab. The CDC says as of Monday, more than 60,000 pregnant women had been inoculated. Other countries have been more cautious. The World Health Organization has held off on recommending the shot to all pregnant women, but it makes an exception for high-risk cases, including medical workers. The UK is allowing pregnant women to get the vaccine only after consulting a doctor. Israel, a world leader in vaccinations, is recommending it. For Uchida, the benefits of the shot outweigh any risk. She encourages other moms to get as much information as they can.
I hope medical workers will try to talk with pregnant women and consider their situation, including their emotions, how they live, and their physical and mental health.
In Japan, women's health experts are still assessing the data, but they say if expectant mothers get the jab, there should be a system to check the health of the fetus beforehand and afterward. Sakamoto Mari, NHK World.
Staying with Japan, the nuclear regulator in the country intends to order a nuclear plant in Niigata to rectify a recent security breach and ensure it doesn't happen again. An investigation by the Nuclear Regulation Authority found sensors for detecting intruders at the Kashiwazaki Kariwa plant were broken for a year. It deemed the lapse an anti-terrorism risk at the most serious level. The plant in Niigata has been shut down since the 2011 nuclear disaster prompted Japan to tighten regulation of the country's plants. Now, this NRA order would essentially force the operator to take corrective action to prevent a future breach before reopening. The watchdog agency would then assess if Tokyo Electric Power Company has done enough. And if the utility doesn't get a passing grade, it won't be allowed to operate. NRA Chairman Fuketa Toyoshi says that would mean a ban on transferring and loading nuclear fuel. The watchdog will allow TEPCO to respond before carrying out the order. In sports, one of sumo's 2 Yokozuna Grand Champions has retired. Kakuryu made the decision after being absent from 5 straight tournaments due to injuries. His resignation was approved by the Japan Sumo Association on Wednesday. The 35-year-old has recently suffered from injuries to his back, foot, and elbow. The council that oversees the appointment of Yokozuna issued a stern warning last November over his absences from tournaments, but he was unable to compete in the January tournament or in the one underway this month. Kakuryu is a native of Mongolia. He came to Japan in 2001 at the age of 16. He was promoted to Yokozuna after winning his first Emperor's Cup in 2014. He's clinched a total of 6 tournament titles. After retiring, he reportedly plans to become a stable master and train young wrestlers. Next, in world weather, rain is expected to ease in waterlogged portions of Australia. But as our meteorologist Jonathan O explains, some areas may continue to see showers from another system.
Hello, the southeastern areas of Australia has been dealing with tremendous amounts of rainfall over the past several days, and it looks like things are going to be easing when it comes to the rainfall, though I'm not saying it's completely going to be dry, because we do still have some back development along a system that's going to be rolling out of the area. But you can tell on the satellite perspective, a lot of the rain is clearing up. But you may notice down here, there's still a low-pressure system nearby, and that's going to still bring some showers from Melbourne into Canberra and Sydney. But those near the border of New South Wales and Queensland, you're going to finally get a little bit of a drier period, and you need it. And so hopefully this rain will also move out of here pretty soon, but at least for Thursday, the chance for rain will be there. Areas up to the north, like Brisbane, we'll be seeing a little bit more in terms of sunshine. We saw a beautiful day in Japan on Wednesday with temperatures moving to around 20 degrees in Tokyo, and that's not the end of the story. We are still expecting dry weather for a good portion of Japan, though we do have a system coming in from the west. As that lifts toward the north and east, we'll see an increase in coverage when it comes to rain. So for those of you in Osaka, you'll be seeing some rain. Tokyo can't rule out a possible shower, but we'll see temperatures in the upper teens on Thursday. And then we really see the temperatures move up once again. 20 is expected for Friday into Saturday here from Tokyo into Fukuoka. And up towards Sapporo, toward the north, a little bit of a different story. We're going from warm to slightly cooler. We're back into the single digits for Friday and Saturday. We are also talking about some pleasant weather in other portions of East Asia, the eastern areas of China looking at dry weather that extends into North and South Korea, and so we will be dealing with some drier weather and warm weather at that. 23 for the high in Beijing, 21 in Shanghai. Over in Seoul, we're looking at partly cloudy skies with a high of 17, so we are looking at some warm weather coming up for Thursday. That's the future forecast. Hope you have a good day wherever you are.
Saudi Arabia's foreign minister proposes a new peace plan for Yemen that includes a ceasefire supervised by the United Nations. The European Union placed restrictions on 4 Chinese officials. The measures aim to punish the officials for human rights abuses in Xinjiang. Police in the U.S. state of Colorado accuse a 21-year-old man of shooting and killing 10 people at a supermarket Monday. And in the Republic of the Congo, the head of the African Union Observer Group praises the Congolese people for a calm and peaceful presidential election.
The UK and the European Union say they're discussing how they can work together to create a win-win situation on COVID-19 vaccines. It comes after the bloc threatened to take tougher measures to curb the export of deliveries of shots. India has suspended all major exports of the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine following a surge in the number of infections in the country. With that, there's been a rising demand for jabs in India. Germany has cancelled a strict coronavirus lockdown over Easter. Chancellor Angela Merkel admits she made a mistake in trying to impose the extra restrictions at such short notice. And oil prices have climbed on international markets amid fears that supplies could be disrupted by the grounding of a giant container ship in the Suez Canal.